Let's make the cookie dough that works like the natural version of Ozempic and helped me lose 15 pounds in 60 days.
First of all, the weight loss looks fantastic. And if it works for you, stick to it. But I want to talk a little bit more about GLP-1, so I want to use this video to bring up some talking points.
Ozempic works by synthetically releasing a hormone you naturally produce in your gut called GLP-1.
I understand where the confusion may come, but this is not how Ozempic works. Ozempic actually binds to the same receptors as GLP-1, located mainly on the pancreas and inside of the brain. In order for anything to increase our natural production of GLP-1, it has to be present inside of the intestinal tract, because there are cells inside of our intestinal tract that produce GLP-1. And because Ozempic is an injection and does not enter into the intestinal tract, there's no way that it can increase our natural production of GLP-1. Conversely, what Ozempic does is it binds to the same receptors as GLP-1 and causes the same effect to occur, which is a reduction in appetite and a reduction in blood glucose.
Your GLP-1 hormone is released when you eat 3 kinds of foods. The first food is carbs. We're going to take 2 tablespoons of oats, grind that into oat flour.
So it is true that carbohydrates can increase GLP-1 production. And this is because the cells that produce GLP-1 actually respond to the presence of different macronutrients. And when these macronutrients are present, they will release GLP-1. These include glucose, amino acids, certain fatty acids, and short-chain fatty acids, which are produced by our gut bacteria when we consume fiber. With that being said, it's important to know where the cells that produce GLP-1 are located. They are the L cells located in the bottom of the small intestine and inside of the large intestine, which means in order for any food to increase GLP-1, it must travel all the way through our small intestine without being absorbed and make it down to the bottom. Interestingly, it's likely the most important factor of a food for increasing GLP-1 production is the degree of processing a food undergoes. The less processing and the more intact a food is, the more difficult it is to digest and the more likely it will be to get all the way down our small intestine. It's actually found that consuming the same amount of glucose from the exact same source with different degrees of processing increases or decreases GLP-1 production. The larger the particle size or the more intact the grains, the more GLP-1 one will produce. Therefore, instead of grinding up the oats, it may actually be more beneficial for the production of GLP-1 and therefore satiety to eat fully intact oats rather than the broken down oat flour.
The next ingredient you need to naturally release your GLP-1 for weight loss is protein. We're going to add 50 grams of lean whey protein to give us maximum GLP-1 release while keeping the calories as low as possible.
So the same thing holds true with protein. We know that whey protein is considered fast-acting and rapidly absorbed protein. Therefore, a slower digesting protein, such as a whole food protein like beef, poultry, fish, and eggs, or even a casein protein, which is slower and more difficult to digest, is likely going to be more beneficial for the production of GLP-1.
Third ingredient, fiber, so we're using 2 spoons of coconut flour.
So the reason that fiber increases GLP-1 is because inside of our large intestine, we have bacteria that can ferment certain types of fiber. Some fiber is fermentable and others are not fermentable. And in order for these bacteria to produce short-chain fatty acids, which stimulate the production of GLP-1, it must be fermentable fiber. And we do see that the fermentation of coconut flour can produce short-chain fatty acids. Therefore, coconut flour may actually be a great fiber to use. But if you're using any old fiber, just try and figure out whether or not it is fermentable or unfermentable fiber. With that being said, the reason that fiber is typically correlated with GLP-1 production is because it's a marker for the consumption of unprocessed foods. And it seems that when you remove the fiber from a product, process it down, and then add the fiber back in, it does not produce as much GLP-1 as the intact product with the fiber included. With that being said, if the foods that you are consuming are devoid of fiber, adding in a fiber supplement may increase GLP-1 production. It just may not be as good as something as an intact food with fiber already inside of it. With that being said, I hope you found this interesting, and if you want to take control of your health and energy, send me a DM to sign up for coaching.